Hello YouTube, I Fix It All here, Team I Fix It All. Today we're looking at a security system that operates on this type of controller. They have more secure points, as you can see. Let me think. Turn on a better light. So there's a light was probably better before, but there's a 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 3 sensors. This plugs into a 120 volt outlet. The company name is SaferHomee.com. This is just the sensor user manual. It says contact support at SaferHomee.com. These are on Amazon. Very good product. Brief overview. This controller stays in your home, and it doesn't have an app or anything like that. It depends on your ears to hear it go off. I could probably dig into this and figure out how to do a wireless do something fancy to get it up on another controller that would notify a cell phone while you're away from the house. But that's not the point of this. This is a old school simple technology. There's a sensor here. They say is dependent on, and I've had these for a while, so they're kind of dirty. I wonder if the light would be better if I turned this off for this. Probably not. Yeah, too many shadows. Let's do this. These are solar rechargeable sensors. They come with a bracket that you can, there's another piece. I'll get that. Let's see, this is the wall, or a mounting bracket. Like, I've got this mounted on a tree outside. It just snaps in the ball socket. Aim it toward the sun, and also coordinate it to where it's pointing where you want it to. Like the one that's on my driveway, the one that's on a tree, I have the bracket oriented like this, but I have the solar sensor mounted like this and a little bit tilted, because that's going to be facing my southern sky, the average of all that. So you'll get a mounting bracket, you'll get this controller, mounting bracket, some useless little anchors. It's not useless, but what if you need those screws and a drywall anchor or concrete anchor. Little USB cable for charging. And this. And you'll get this. You don't get an adapter that converts your voltage down to charge these, so that's why they give you this USB to get it to the proper voltage. And that orange button there, pop that off, and that's your charging port. If you want to charge it up with your laptop or something like that, you know. I've never used this port, because what I generally do is when I get a new one, I just set it out in the sun, let it pre-charge if it needs to. But generally, they've all arrived with a degree of charge that I didn't really have to worry too much over that. Here's the controller. You got 4 zones on this particular controller. I think they have a newer controller that has more zones. But I just got a brand new one recently. Little teeny bit of design difference. This one was made 7 of 2022. And I think this says 7 of 2020. Model T904 for the sensor. And for the controller, there you go. The sensor is that information. And the controller is Hotel Bravo 806 Alpha. And let me see, none of these are turned on right now. Let's see. When you get these new in the box, they kind of imply to power these on first. And what's a misnomer is in the instructions, they tell you to power on, hit this button 3 times. To power it off, hit it 3 times. But later on, you discover that if you want to increase the sensitivity of the sensor to give it a longer distance of range for detection, high sensitivity, then you hit the on-off button 5 times when it's powered off. So currently I'm powered off. I'm going to plug the controller in. It's going to go through its cycle. And just, you can observe how it settles in and operates. Right now it's hunting down a sensor, trying to handshake with them. That's terrible. Let me spin the slider around. See if I can get that effect to change. That might be more helpful. Let me do this. Oops. It's cycling through all 4 zones, trying to see if it sees any sensors. Now, these sensors operate on changes in heat, but I've noticed that they also seem to operate on what to me it's almost like they operate on motion as well. I'm trying to get the light right, because I don't know if this is going to be, I can't make every video perfect, so the heck on it. I believe it is heat sensitivity, but I've also been able to confuse myself as to whether or not it's motion as well. Like this entire countertop here is within a, I mean, this is a soldering micro miniature repair 3M top that goes on a paste station. So it's not really a masonite material. It's I don't know what the material is. It's really hard. But you would assume that it would be an even-keeled temperature. I don't have a specific heat burden on this workbench right here. But yet I can move these move these around and it'll set the controller off. It operates on 433 megahertz up to a half-mile range. I'm not sure if that's going to be good or not. Hang on, let me see if I can block the backlight off of that. Hopefully that did it. Let's see. Low sensitivity is 25 feet, medium is 50 feet, high is 70. So when they tell you to initially pull one of these new additional sensors, if you just do like I did and you bought the controller and 2 sensors, and then later on you bought a 3rd sensor, early in the manual they talk about powering on the sensor, and they tell you to press the power on button 3 times. Well, if you press the power on button 3 times, you're automatically default into low sensitivity, and then you could become dissatisfied because you were under the impression this thing could detect changes in heat or theoretical motion up to 70 feet away. So it's a misnomer to immediately follow the instructions of power on 3 times. Power off by hitting this button 3 times works just fine. I'm going to power on sensor number 2. I've got it labeled in here as a driveway, and I'm not going to power it on like the manual says. The manual, let me look here. Adjust the volume. Wait 10 seconds. Oh, that's how to delete a sensor. I don't want to do that. Well, if you ever follow the instructions on delete a sensor, you're kind of on your own. I figured it out. I deleted all 3 of my sensors, and this thing acted like it was the end of the world. It all has to do with holding down the volume and the holding down the volume button for 5 seconds, and then as soon as you see your particular sensor show up, either 1, 2, 3, 4, immediately grab the tone button to acknowledge and catch it. We'll show you that in a second. And that'll allow you to start programming a sound this will make. So it says here how to add a sensor to the wireless receiver. Oh, my apologies. It says turn the wireless motion sensor on by pressing the on-off button 4 times. Well, in the manual, that gives you medium sensitivity. I'm going to recommend that you just try to remember when you power on your new sensor, hit the power on and off 5 times. That'll give you the 70 feet sensitivity. I'll show you in the manual where it says that. There we go. Oh, it was on the specs, really, honestly. This is not going to work. Swing the light around here, maybe. Low, high, and low, medium, and high. So let's power on one of these sensors. I'm just going to pick on this one because it has the better tone, or it'll say driveway. But I want to power it on, defaulting immediately to high sensitivity. So I'm going to go 5 times. And see a red light on here. It's kind of lit up. That's acknowledging I powered it on. That's kind of lit up. If you could compare it to this one, that's not lit up. I'm powering this one on. Right now it's communicating to the controller and acknowledging that there is an available sensor. And that light will go out, and then we'll move it around a little bit and test it. Okay, so it went out. I think I'm going to run this video with the light like this for now. It should be sufficient. Let's just do that. All right, so the claim is that it's detecting heat. My countertop should be all the same temperature, but yet I got a light to come on just now. Did you see that? The light's on. It's detecting something. Watching that area again. Light came on. Alright, so let's create some change like that. Now if I get up here like this. So I actually caught part of that steel, that cast iron there. That's going to be a significant temperature delta from the temperature of the counter to that. I'm moving it around, and the light, it knows something's going on, but the circuitry is, to me, it's telling me, yeah, it is detecting just heat changes in heat. That would make sense for an intruder or a critter. It would be real hard for your environment to have a person in it that matches the ambient temperature around that person, unless it was exact body temperature outside, which could be possible. So I'm going to so it's telling me that is going on. Let's do something else too. Let's just hold it up right here. Yeah, it's trying to detect something. I wonder what the paper does. So it's a different surface, a different material. So it's obviously going to be reading different than the countertop. Okay. You're not seeing what I'm doing. Now I've got it beating down on my hand. I'm trying to force it into trying to make a decision. See the minute movement? I'm just causing it to trip because I can't hold it steady enough. Let's see if I can steady my arm. I'm trying to get it to detect my hand. I'm staying really still. And that light's staying on the rear.
Driveway. 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 Driveway.
Okay, so I'm going to change the tone on driveway. You can change a few things about. You can change the tone that they demonstrate, plus the audible how much volume this controller puts out. There's a top button right here. That's your volume, and the second button is your tone control. So I'm going to move this and get it to trigger, and I'm going to hit the tone.
Garage.
Now it's saying garage.
Garage.
Okay. If you have the sensor in a situation where you can cause it to trip, just have your thumb waiting right there on the tone button, and there's 30 tones. So I'm going to put this back on driveway. Oops. I'm just hitting the tone button right on the side.
Driveway.
Now it's back on driveway.
Driveway.
All right, I'm going to power it off. To turn the sensor off, they tell you in the manual to, just making sure I follow the instructions. To turn the sensor off, you hit the power button 3 times. Press the on and off button 3 times to turn off the sensor. So this is how you power off a sensor if you choose to.
Driveway.
Now it's off. I'm going to power all 3 on, and I'm going to adjust a audible tone for one of them by trying to catch them as a group. I'm going to turn all 3 on. I'm going to hit the button 5 times because hitting the button 3 times is low sensitivity for powering on, 4 times is medium, and 5 times is high sensitivity, which gives you the maximum footage. So here I go. I'm going to hit this button 5 times. 2, 3, 4, 5. It beeped back to me and confirmed I chose 5 as the sensitivity level, and right now the light is still on the back of it. It's still glowing because it's communicating with the controller and handshaking. It takes about a good solid 10 seconds for this to tone down, and there you go. Now, let's see if she's working.
Driveway.
Alright, now I'm going to power this one on, and I'm going to hit it for 5 seconds. I'm going to hit it for 5 times to denote 70 feet maximum high sensitivity. Wait for that light to go out on the rear. There's a red light on currently still. Let's see if you can see that. Notice how this one's off and that one's on. Anytime there's motion or heat change in front of the sensor, that light will come on. That means it's a load burden to the battery pack that's on board. However, like I mentioned before, normally when I power these on, I'll set it outside and let the solar panel charge the pack. Sometimes if you don't have sun for quite a while, these may once in a blue moon fail you. But these two sensors have been to hell and back. They have been in the hills of West Virginia, and through no care to them at all, they have never let me down, unless it was very understandable, like we went 2 weeks without sunlight, and so you gotta give and take. An additional battery pack, if you're really worried about it, I think SaferHomee offers something like that. I'm going to power this one on. I'm going to do this 5 times. And you'll see the light come on. There you go. And it beeped 5 times back at me. This is the newer sensor, and notice the back panel design change. These have standoffs on the back. No biggie. I just think they have a reason why they did that. On the older ones, they have screws, heads showing. I don't know if their intention was to keep people out of the sensor or what. But once that light goes out, we'll test all 3 sensors just to see the difference here. I'm going to move this and hope I don't trip it off. All right, so this is sensor number 1. I've got it labeled 1. That noise to our household means something, okay? It means what it means to us. Sensor number 2.
Driveway. Front door.
All right, so now let's say you have these sensors mounted. I can tell you that right now, when they say up to a half a mile, I'm not questioning them at all. This sensor right here normally lives its life about 1,000 feet away, down over a hill, through some trees, and about 2 feet off the ground. What was the frequency? 430 some megahertz. Yeah, 433 megahertz. These things, it's VHF. I believe that's the wrong term. But it's way higher than your FM bands, okay? Like by 4 times, to be precise. And they have, so imagine you can just remotely mount this, and if you strategize how you mount it, and you allow it to get a solar charge, and this remains plugged in, this is your weak link right here. When you have no utility power, I need to contact SaferHomee to find out what is the working voltage of the electronics in here, because I could easily parallel in diode or a DIY battery pack, or perhaps they have a battery pack. They're telling me the working voltage of the sensor, but I don't see in here what the working voltage is. Well, they would say 120 volts, 50 or 60 hertz, because that's what it's doing. But I highly doubt all of this circuitry in here is actually using 120 volts. It's like I expect to see like a step-down transformer and getting it down to the DC volts level. I can't imagine any of the components here using 120 volts. You get what I'm saying? If you're electronic savvy, you'll get what I'm saying. But a lot of times people think, well, it's got to have 120 volts. Well, no, not really. A lot of the stuff you use today is only using 120 volts because that's what everybody has in this country. Inside, the voltage gets redetermined by electrical and electronic components. By stage 1 would be an MOV or a metal oxide varistor or some sort of surge suppressor. And then stage 2 would be something like a step-down transformer. And then you would get down to a half-wave, full-wave bridge rectifier. And then some resistor bank of sorts to get the voltage down to the level that now is appropriate for all the circuit chips and so on and so forth. All right. So I want this to be able to function when there is no utility power. That's the one thing I haven't solved. Distance on these is excellent. Sensitivity is excellent. Don't complain too much if you have false alarms, because you are not factoring in that this thing is shooting into the weeds or to a tree limb. You have to go around with a machete and clean up the trajectory of where this thing is pointing. You have to maintain the clear line of sight for this object. Otherwise, little bushes and leaves will set it off, and it will not shut up until you solve the problem, or you walk down and turn the sensor off, and that's defeating the purpose of your security system. Let's see if I can catch sensor. Now, imagine these are just remotely mounted around your property, and you wanted to change the tone for sensor 3. Currently, I think this one is set up as front door. The manual says to hold the volume down for 5 seconds, and whatever zone number you want to manipulate, as soon as you see it show up and it's slowly flashing, take your finger off the volume button and move down here to the tone. But I've noticed there's something fickle about that whole operation. If I just follow the instructions, I don't think it works. It's like I've got to have I hold the volume button down, and as soon as I see the zone number, I'm still holding the volume button down. Oops. Let me let it cycle through. Okay. What I think was working for me on this newer sensor was I was holding the volume button down for 5 seconds, and while keeping my thumb on the volume button, as soon as I saw sensor 3 show up flashing slowly, I pushed in the tone button and then released the volume button. And I understand now in the manual why they tried to explain that in such detail with like a pictogram. They're talking about even sliding your finger off of This is the section where you want to add a new sensor. Hold the volume button for 5 seconds and release the button when one of the zone numbers flashes and give out a beeping prompting sound. And then they're talking about, I think they had difficulty explaining how to do this because they literally, the English is about 95% spot on, but they're telling you to hold the button and you got to look for when you're, I think what they mean is when you see the zone, like sensor number 3 is my zone 3, as soon as you see it flashing, immediately start depressing your tone button. But let's give it a try. I'm going to hold it for 5 seconds and I want to reprogram sensor 3.
Front door.
It's not doing it.
Front door.
I don't know what happened there.
Front door.
And then they also say in the instructions to, as soon as, hang on. Let me reset that. They also want you to do programming on your new sensor when you're within 3 feet of your controller. So the idea of reprogramming a sensor remotely is still an option. Once you program it, it's okay, but brand new out of the box, you have to be within 3 foot of your controller. Let me see if I can make sense of one particular instruction. Hang tight. Okay, I got it. I got it, meaning I understand where the instructions are extremely confusing. They're telling you there's 2 ways to do this. Hold this, have your motion sensor turned on and wait about 30 seconds. So I'm going to turn it on for about 30 seconds. I'm going to turn it on and wait 30 seconds. And I don't know if I even want to get into this or not because it's kind of tricky. The easiest way is to go fetch your sensor, bring it close to you, close to the controller. Oh, what happened? Hang on. Yeah. The easiest way to change the tone that this thing gets out is just go snatch it out of the yard. Method 2 is going to be flawless. Wait till that light goes out. There's a red light on right now. You're going to have your thumb right there on the tone. I'm going to trigger the alarm. Should have said front door. Now they say hit this button twice. I'm jumping here. Let's see what it did. I'm going to hit that button twice again. See when 3 lit up? I want to get 3 lit up and flashing on its own, so I'm going to follow the older instructions. Hold down the volume button for 5 seconds. And I'm going to wait for zone 3 to flash slowly. And it never does. There we go. I'm moving it. I want this to say front door.
Driveway. Front door.
Front door. I'm back on front door on this one.
Front door.
Alright, so let's see if we can... method 2 is just to activate the sensor. And when it's active, start changing the noise. Okay, so I'm moving it around, triggering it. Yep, that's method 2. I'm just hitting the tone change. I want to put this back on driveway.
Front door.
Ooh, I missed it. Driveway. Okay, we're back on driveway. I'm not sure why they give you 2 options for resetting. All I know is that this product works like a champ. The instructions, you gotta read them. The main reason why I did the video is to first kind of show these to you all, but also they're a real good price point too. You can have a long-range sensors coming into a controller, and then if you're real creative, I bet you can make that controller do other things. But mainly to show you the difficulties in the manual of how they explain things. It's going to be trial and error for you if you don't understand a lot of what I said on this video, but one of the main things you should know is to, when you power on, don't power on and hit the power button on 4 times, because you'll be on medium range. Power on is, I recommend you go 5 times instead of going 3. And let me see, anything else I missed? I don't think so. I think that sensor is, yeah, it's on.
Front door.
And this is my newest sensor.
Front door.
And there's a red light on the back.
Front door.
I'm not even
Front
moving
door.
right now. It's my heartbeat in my arm. that's making this sensor move a little
French
bit.
door.
So it's definitely got to be heat related. Again, this is the SaferHomee security system. And this is good up to 4 sensors. This is going to be your...
Driveway.
oh yeah, this one is going to be your
French door.
T904 model for the sensor. And your controller is the Hotel Bravo 806 Alpha. Alright guys, video turned out way longer than I wanted. We shall see ya. Bye.